It's kind of like the strike zone in baseball.
That's the thing.
Just fucking stop it.
These refs run up to a dog pile and they go, "Yep, this is exactly where the ball was."
Yeah.
Bullshit. You have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
And then you're going to measure them short by an inch?
Yeah.
Come on.
Or a yard.
Or a yard. Yeah, but I mean, like the ones where.
Meanwhile, we just spent the last 10 minutes staring at 4 300-pound asses trying to figure out where the ball is on TV.
45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go. It's time people feel it.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. He gets better and better. Team is if we die, we die.
Man, woman, and child in that. Put them in the aisle.
Bring that trophy back to Lincoln.
Welcome into another episode of the Big Red Junkies. I am BJ. This is Matt, and this is Jed. We are excited to be with you guys tonight. We are talking, is it 12 commandments?
10 commandments.
10 commandments.
Your regular old 10 commandments.
Of college football. This is Alan Lazard article from The Athletic.
Stewart Mandel.
Stewart Mandel, excuse me.
You're good.
From back in,
February.
I believe, February. Still very relevant content.
It is.
It's kind of a fun conversation as we're in the dog days of not football season.
It is. Before we jump into it, though, I do want to ask, please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share, follow. Go find us on socials. Shout us out. Share us with your friends. We appreciate all the support for you guys. We have been very, very lacking this offseason so far, but we are going to get back into the full swing of weekly shows for you guys here very soon. Want to appreciate all of you that are still hanging around. We kind of expected our last show that came out like 3 weeks ago to fall flat and maybe do nothing, and the numbers still got to like almost regular season numbers for us. So
much appreciated.
You guys are awesome.
We cannot thank you enough.
Except for the ones that haven't liked, subscribed, shared, all that stuff. You guys are kind of lame.
Don't be a dick.
Losers.
No, actually, this article has a bunch of stuff in it, and right at the top of the article, actually, is something I want to talk about real quick before we jump into this, because I think it's a very valid conversation, and it's not just because we're Big Ten honks, because obviously we're in the Big Ten, but this article starts off by talking about, has the SEC lost its luster? It's clear to me, and I think it should be clear to pretty much anybody, that the SEC is not the big dog in college football. It's not the big dog in college sports anymore.
Yes.
Look right now at what we're looking at, the current landscape. Right now it's April 30th. This show's probably going to come out in about a week or so. But look at college baseball. The SEC has massively dominated college baseball for a decade plus.
SEC or ACC, yeah.
SEC, ACC. But you look at that and you go, okay, well, 2 of the top 10 best teams, 2 of the top probably 6 best teams in the country are Nebraska and UCLA. And you've got a handful of other teams in the Big Ten.
Well, even Oregon's ranked ahead of us right now.
Well, yeah, I wasn't even remembering Oregon.
USC's way up there.
Yeah,
it's hard to remember that Oregon is part of the Big Ten still.
We're not a baseball show, so not trying to claim that.
But the point is, the fact that the Big Ten has 4 teams that are legitimate top 25 teams in baseball is a big deal.
And UCLA, they could just hand the trophy to UCLA right now. I don't know if they're beatable.
That's not how that goes.
I know, but
there's been a lot.
They're dirty. They're nasty.
I'm not big time baseball guy necessarily anymore, but I've been a College World Series guy for a long time, and the fact that the number 1 overall seed in the college baseball tournament has not won the baseball, they don't win very often.
Yeah.
So
you guys have already lost most of our fans. This is a fucking football show, okay?
Anyway, the point is, the SEC is not the big dogs anymore. It probably has a lot to do with the fact that, well, there's more wealthy schools.
Everybody's paying their players now.
Yeah, that's the big point too that I was about to get to,
or at least legally, because everybody was before. But
that's right. There's just less eyes down south apparently to check on that stuff. But, I'm excited about this conversation. All truth and reality. This was Jed's idea 100%, and Matt and I both said, don't tell us anything about this. We're not going to read it ahead of time. So you're going to get actual, real, natural reactions on this, completely unprepared.
I mean, I don't know how to prepare for these shows, so they always get my natural reaction. But
there might be some extra F-bombs in this one because we're not as polished for this.
Fuck yeah.
Man, right now I miss the old fuck yeah button.
That's true. Well, yeah, where'd that go?
America, fuck
All right,
yeah.
we'll get it back in there.
Yeah, we'll get it
Anyway.
back. We'll get it back.
So this was a mailbag article that Stewart Mandel does all the
Wait,
time.
hold on.
Mail
There.
You can tell we're out of practice.
Yeah. And one of the questions it said, if you were the czar of college football, what would be your 10 commandments to make the game better for everybody? Players, students, fans, everybody. And so I'll just start getting into the 10 commandments. He said, the first one that he said, thou shalt have 12-team playoff for at least in the next decade, and the event shall move up by a week to allow the season to end on or around January 8th, as it did when there were 4 playoff teams.
It did not take long for me to immediately disagree with these 10 commandments.
Why? Why would you? What
I
part
don't
of
think-
that would you disagree with?
The 12 teams. I think
Okay.
it should be expanded. I understand where he's coming from. He probably means let's sit and actually experience this for a little bit and see
Let
if
it
it
breathe
works.
a little bit. Yeah.
Because college football is changing so much. I think it should be 16 teams. I think the 12 teams is a little weird, but that's just what I'm disagreeing with.
Okay.
I don't disagree with the second part of this. Ending it still the first week in January, second week in January, I would still really love that.
Because like next year, I think the championship game is like on the 20th of January or something like that.
The thing that doesn't make any sense to me is why do you give all these teams that are going to be playing these games a whole month off before they start
There's just
playing?
no need for it.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. If you're expecting these teams that are in the top 12 or the top 16, because that's what I think it's going to ultimately is the 16 team. If you're expecting that those teams are the teams that are the best in the country, that means they're also full of the most NFL talent. And if those kids are going to go out there, play this year in the playoff, and then expect to turn around and play 17 games next year for a regular season, not to mention if they make the playoffs, you can't tell me that they can't do it and can't play continuously through that.
Well, what they will say, again, this isn't me saying this, what they will say is they're student athletes and there's
No, they're not.
there's finals in December.
Don't give
so
a
they need
fuck.
that break for finals.
These are paid professional athletes
I agree.
at an amateur level of the sport.
Also, 90% of their classes are online, so they can take their finals online while they're preparing for a football game.
So they can also take them during the week regularly, just like anybody else.
They are taking classes all through the regular season. There's no reason they can't finish the classes during the playoffs.
Yeah, so fucking stupid counter.
Well, and so that's my whole thing. They could be ending it like they traditionally did the first and second week in January. That absolutely could and should be happening. That being said,
Well, and also move the entire season. So instead of week 0, move week 0 to week 1.
well, stop calling it week 0.
Well,
Week 1 is week 1.
I'm just saying.
also-
They
it's
call
just
it week 0 because there's only like 6 games. Move the
It
season
was
up
a
a week.
marketing play. I get
You
it.
know, they're going to get rid of championship games, conference championship games, create another week, and then you just go.
If I'm
from
being
there.
completely honest, I don't care when the games are played.
No.
I think, yes, taking a step back and just letting it be a 12-team playoff makes sense for a little bit, and then move to 16, and we can all be happy. Or 64. I'm just keeping that out there. 64 would be fun.
You've always 72 now in college basketball.
Well, we don't
Only
need to
76.
skip that
76,
step.
excuse
but,
me. Forgot about the plans for the 72.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't lose those plans.
But all that being said, like the 12 team for at least a decade, I think that's silly. I think we've already seen that it doesn't make sense to have the higher seeds sit for an extra week.
Yeah.
Because you've seen it, with the exception of Indiana, none of them have succeeded.
Yeah.
Right? There's been this is our third year of the 12 year.
2 years ago, the 4 teams that had the bye lost their first game.
Yeah. And in last year, I think 2 of the 4 won. But then you had like Texas Tech get destroyed. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Let everybody play. I love the idea of backing it up. I really like just back the whole goddamn thing up. It's fine. And NFL, quit being dickheads. You don't have to start playing games on Saturday just because.
No, they're going to because that gives them money, and that's all that matters is money in sports nowadays.
Darn it,
and
more
all those
football.
things.
I don't give a shit about that either.
But honestly, that's one of the things that screws up the schedule as far as the playoffs is because the college football playoff has to cater around the NFL schedule. So they have to schedule some of these preliminary games on Thursdays and Fridays to not interfere with the NFL games on Saturdays to maximize their viewership on TV and all those things. I get all of that. don't care. Put the fucking game on Saturday and go up against the NFL. You're going to lose the ratings battle. I get it. But no, just keep it on Saturday. Keep it on schedule.
I'll still watch both.
2 years ago, they did that.
I will watch the college game. But
2 years ago, if you remember, the Penn State SMU game was on during, I believe, a Chiefs game, going like head to head, and the ratings were terrible. The ratings were terrible. It was also a terrible game, but the ratings were terrible. And so that's tough. And I don't want to see the college games playing the same time as an NFL game. They can make concessions. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Just let the college teams.
The problem is the
have
NFL
the
doesn't care.
I get that.
So
they should, because this is their amateur league.
I agree, but they won't and they don't. So it's kind of like, whatever.
I almost moved on to what I see is the next.
Yeah, I've been holding my tongue on this.
Yeah. So the second one is quarterfinals shall be played at campuses. The semifinals shall be at 2 New Year's Day bowl games, one of which shall annually be the Rose Bowl. I don't give a fuck about that. But and the Army-Navy game shall be moved to the early January 1st window leading into them. Because so before you guys react, there's been a big thing on the and I'm not getting political on this because he has stepped in on, trying to do an executive order on when they should play that game, which it's not a thing, but whatever.
Bro probably
Very
releases
strange.
an executive order about how to put a toilet paper roll on the thing. Like,
Anyway, but I don't care. First of all, I don't care when the Rose Bowl is played. I know that the Rose Bowl tries to have this contract where they can only be played at a certain time on New Year's Day and all this other bullshit crap. But
Yeah, they had a contract with UCLA to play there too, and that worked out well.
Yeah, that's going away. But as far as the very beginning, quarterfinals shall be played at campuses. I love more games on campuses. The fact that let's just say it stays at 12. The fact that the top 4 seeds that get a bye do not get to play on campus
never made sense.
is very
Doesn't make any
stupid.
sense at all.
So yes, they should.
that might be part of why they've struggled so much with that extra week off. It's not necessarily the extra week off, it's that they don't get to play at home.
Yeah.
Another argument to go to 16 teams.
Yeah.
Sure.
More games at home.
Can I put a qualifier on that, though?
Go ahead.
You have to have a minimum stadium capacity in order to have your home game. Otherwise, you play in the closest neutral site that does. Because if we have a crazy, let's say Cincinnati. Remember, like 6 or 7 years ago when Cincinnati was really good, almost made the playoff.
UCF from even further back.
Yeah,
I mean, they would have been right up there.
Stuff like that. Like if you've got a stadium that's too small from a capacity
UCF has
perspective,
a very big stadium.
yeah. But like Cincinnati Stadium
Nobody knew
seats like 38,000 or something like that. Like if you have a tiny stadium like that, okay, you can't host. If you're not at least 45 or 50,000, you can't host. But the closest neutral site near your fan base, that still gives you the advantage.
I mean, the way that, you could say that was a situation back when, I think it was Boise State was the 4 seed and they got the first round bye and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not a thing anymore because they're just doing it straight by seeding. So the likelihood of, and I agree, I'm not disagreeing with you, but the likelihood of somebody that doesn't have a stadium suitable for that being in one of those positions is slim to none now with the way that they've restructured the seeding of the tournament. But I don't disagree with the thought process.
Yeah.
Like that, again, that's one of those things. I just don't care that much about it. I think regardless, you should get a home field advantage.
Yeah.
Even if your home field has 30,000 people in it.
Reading this next one is funny to me.
Number 3 was all West Coast Power Conference schools shall return to the Pac-12 immediately or form a new league with a different name, restoring this sport to 5 power conferences. The other leagues shall be adjusted for geographic sensibility. Maryland back to the ACC, SMU to the Big 12, etc.
No.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't either.
All I'm going to say is nope, and never going to happen.
Yeah.
No, because it's...
Yeah, a 5-hour bus ride or a 5-hour plane ride is the same thing. I don't give a shit.
I mean, well, nobody's using a bus anymore anyway. It's like
I just don't care.
I'm gonna go back to
all the big boy schools have their own plane.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I'm gonna go back to a conversation that we had last off season or 2 off seasons ago. I can't remember for sure, but I think it was actually 2 about the fact that at some point I believe this becomes a 2 league separates away from everything else. I think you're going to see the big boys from the ACC get split up between the Big 10 and the Big 12 and the SEC. And it's going to go that direction where, cool, now there's 48 teams or whatever it is. And there's a 16 team playoff in that league. And then there's Division 1 AA or whatever it is to do the rest of everybody else.
In the next 4 to 5 years, as these TV contracts start to come to the expiration date,
Yes.
it's going to get chaos.
Crazy.
It's going to get
crazy.
chaos.
It'll be fun to watch.
It might not even take that long because when you get that close to the expiration date on those, the buyouts on those goes down tremendously.
Yes.
And the money that is going to be reseeded for this stuff, especially when they expand the playoff again, and you've got it's going to get out of control. But I think there's also going to have to be like that might be the penultimate moment before the rest of it starts to make sense. Because if you go to a more structured governing body that's going to allow for, if there's 2 leagues and it's not this whole like we got to try and be fair amongst 130 teams or whatever, all that crap can go away when everybody across the landscape of the 48 teams in it or the 64 teams in it are all making the same money.
Yeah. The next one is thou shalt have centralized non-conference scheduling. Following the national championship game, the czar will assign Power 5 team. Each Power 5 team, 1 Power 5 opponent with similar record, 1 high-level G5 opponent, and 1 low-level G5 or FCS opponent. All shall be played at home stadiums, not neutral sites.
Again, this whole thing gets fixed if you go to 2 super conferences.
Yep.
Like then you're just going towards a format like the NFL. You can even divide them up then by regionalized locations. So you have
just like the
divisions
NFL.
Within your conference, just like the NFL does.
And this is also kind of a similar model to what the NFL does, where in your division you finish first, second, third, fourth.
Mm-hmm.
You play your cross. What do they call it? Cross conference division. You play that. You play the second team. You play the third team. Like whatever it might be. That's kind of what this is saying as far as like what it's
like opponents.
like similar record. Yeah. The one thing that I would push back on this is no more FCS opponents.
I completely agree.
No more FCS opponents.
Like,
we don't
so
need
tired
it.
of them.
There's enough powder puffs in the group of 5.
Yeah.
We don't need to beat
especially
up on
with
FCS.
the transfer portal stuff, where every Power 4 school just takes all the best.
They eat up all the good players anyway.
So they're basically glorified FCS teams anyway.
Now
So
the argument
it's like,
that people make back on that is, yeah, but they go get paid that $1.5 million to go play at Nebraska, and that supports their football team for the next year.
cool.
I'm sorry,
That's not my job.
Yeah, go fundraise.
Yeah,
go fundraise.
Or maybe you shouldn't have a football team.
I don't know what to tell you.
There's that.
Yeah,
There's that. It's not our job. It's not our job to supplement.
I'm sorry,
your
Rice.
program.
Maybe you don't need a football team.
There was something else on this one that I completely agreed with, where it's just like, kind of with what you said as far as it's just like the NFL scheduling component of it. It makes too much sense, so it will never happen.
The last line on here: all shall be played at home stadiums, not neutral sites. Also stupid.
Yeah,
I think
I
fans
agree.
love
Yeah.
the neutral site experience, especially if it's close.
Yeah.
No. I loved going to Ireland and playing in Ireland and doing that shit. I think that's great.
I loved kicking an onside kick up 11 points.
I'm not talking about the outcome. I'm saying that the experience was cool.
Yeah, I agree.
The NFL goes and plays all over the fucking world now.
Yeah.
You can kind of do that with college too.
Yeah, I have no problem with these early season neutral site games. That's okay.
I thought
Whatever.
the Kansas City one was awesome, and it sounds like we're going to do it again.
Yeah, in 2 years against Northern Illinois. Yeah. Next one is there shall be no limits on how much players can earn outside NIL opportunities, and no need to send anything through the NIL Go. In return, players shall only be allowed to transfer and play immediately once in their careers. I especially agree with the last part.
The last part, yes, and it sounds like the Nebraska case might actually cause the first part to come true.
Yeah, we'll find out in about a week, because it actually got as of the time of us recording
You
this.
guys want to explain a little bit what the Nebraska case is?
I mean, honestly,
There's
can't.
like 18 players involved that their deal went through the clearinghouse and got stopped. Basically, so it's fun, go play.
Playfly.
That's what it is.
They do the media rights for Nebraska.
It's a media rights deal where essentially each of these players were going to get like $1 million. So like, let's just say that, just for round numbers.
Easy numbers.
And it went through the clearinghouse. They rejected it. And so basically they're saying, well, no, you can't take this NIL because we can't assign a value to what you're like. There's no specific thing you're going to be doing, so we can't give you
They called this NIL deal warehousing, where they would get paid this money not for things that they're going to do now, but for future things that they could possibly do, as far as
endorsements,
their likeness and things like that. And so the Clearinghouse said, no, it has to be things for what you're going to do now. And so now the players at Nebraska are suing for that to be legal. And, that this could possibly blow up the entire NIL Go situation, the Clearinghouse situation. So
the thing about this is, like, you're talking about how to define from a legal perspective expected value, projected value.
And again, by the time this show comes out, it might already be done. This is when we're recording this.
But my thing on this is, it's kind of like look at NBA shoe contracts. What do all the major shoe brands do now? First or second year of a player like that looks like he might be on the come up, they're trying to lock him into like a 10-year fucking shoe deal because they want to get it at a lower price, but they know they're buying projected value.
Yeah.
Right? They strike out on a lot of them, but that's their business to make a decision on whether or not they do that. And this is the same thing. If a company is going to say, hey, I want XYZ dollars to go to this guy because at some point down the road, I want to call him for an endorsement deal. He might suck right now and it might not seem like it's worth $1 million, but I think it's going to be worth $1 million. Who is this person at the Clearinghouse to say, I don't agree?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, unless it actually has to do with a player and getting paid to play the game, they should have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter.
I agree. Next one is players shall have 5 years to play 5 full seasons. No red shirts, no waivers. Maximum age 23 years old.
Sounds like that's going to get passed anyway.
Exactly. Exceptions shall be made only for those who went on a religious mission or performed military service after high school.
I don't agree on the max age.
Yeah, the max age thing, whatever.
There's some kids that are 19 years old graduating high school.
I agree.
Some kids that are 21 years old graduating high school.
I'm saying give them 5 for 5. It's either 5 for 5 or it's not. Like, you don't have to put extra stipulations on it.
Outside of the age, I agree with all of that. And this article was put out in February. Now it's really
seems like it's almost done.
They're about to basically sign the 5 for 5.
I would say one thing I would argue on this is season-long injuries. I would want some sort of exemption process for that still.
For a medical red shirt?
Yeah. Essentially that.
But you can only get one.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Because there are some guys that have gotten like 3 or 4. Or maybe not that. I'm exaggerating.
You don't need to spend 9 years playing 5 seasons.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I will also say, like, the max age thing, that feels like NFL influence right there. Like, we don't want these kids coming up into the draft being 26, 27 years old.
I think what they don't want is somebody playing 3 years in college and then going through an NFL career and then coming back for 2 years of college when they're kind of washed.
Or like for instance, there's been many people like this, but like the Chris Winkies who went to baseball at first, played minor league baseball for a handful of years. It didn't work out. So then he went back and played college football, ended up getting drafted at like 28 years old or however old he was.
See, that I don't care. I think, and this could just go.
Whedon from Oklahoma State, the quarterback, Brandon Whedon.
He was 28 when he got drafted.
Those types of guys who did the baseball thing first, then went and played football. That's what that age thing is. Yeah.
See, I don't care about that. I agree. Whenever you start your 5 years, that's when you get your 5 years.
Yep.
But it's
There's
5.
No splitting it.
It's 5 consecutive years.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And again, that sounds like it's basically going to happen. Next one is coaches shall be required to remain with their teams through the duration of their season, however long it lasts. Contacting a coach about a job during the season shall be treated the same as tampering with an athlete. It's almost as if that a big time thing happened this last year, just to why to put that in there with LSU and Ole Miss.
Fuck Lane Kiffin.
Also, I'm just going to go ahead and say that's a stupid rule.
I agree, because it's very hard to. First of all, it's hard to do that rule for 1,000 different reasons, but specifically for recruiting purposes. That's my whole thing. Like you just can't restrain people like that. That's just
now. If you want to show me a restructured rule for the portal and for recruiting,
100%,
maybe I'd consider something
different
like
conversation.
That. But as it sits with our current structure, schools are disincentivized to let a coach stay. They need to make a hire as soon as possible. Like Penn State tried to do this last year. they need to try and make a hire as soon as they possibly can, because that recruiting cycle is going to get wasted. And then that coach's whole first year is fucked.
Yep.
That's the way it sits right now. There's no way you're going to be able to have anything like that happen.
No, not at all. Next one is any Power 5 game airing exclusively on a streaming service such as Peacock shall be simulcast on an over-the-air network in the two schools' home states. Also, a school's road game may not kick off later than 9 p.m. back home.
Okay, I like the second half of that.
Yeah, those are two very different things.
Yeah, that's
where do you put them together?
Strange. That could have been another commandment by itself.
That's kind of that's more of like a TV thing. Both of those sentences are both kind of like TV deals.
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
for instance, like if we go play at UCLA or USC and the game kicks off here at 10 o'clock, but it's 8 o'clock in California.
Well, and here's my thing.
That kind of aspect.
This is a bit.
Or that Fresno State game a handful of years ago where it started at like 10:30 our time.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know.
The whole streaming service,
the streaming thing to me
is an NFL thing too.
Yeah, the streaming thing is just not going to happen because of Amazon. Peacock already has their second, like it's always, like if it's streaming on Peacock, it's streaming on NBC Sports Network. Yeah. Just because you don't have NBC Sports Network, that's your problem. Yeah. But the only one that's exclusive to non-streaming are the ones that are on Apple TV and on Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you don't see it happen. And I don't know that there was anything that streamed college-wise on Amazon Prime yet.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
This whole thing seems kind of silly to me because it wasn't that long ago that you couldn't watch every game during the season on TV anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's like pay-per-view.
I don't care that much, I guess.
You guys, I mean, I like the NFL, but I'm not the biggest NFL guy like you guys are. But there is a thing with the NFL where the local games that are on streaming services, like even Amazon, are they still, I know that they used to, but is it still this way now where they are on a local channel somewhere?
No.
Like say Jacksonville is playing on Thursday Night Football.
No,
There's
that's
not.
gone away.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, but again, that used to be a thing. So that's why I'm asking.
No. I think Thursday night games do simulcast on NFL Network.
Okay. Well, or even like the Netflix game and the Chiefs are on is in the Kansas City area. Is it on a local TV channel?
That does not. No.
Okay.
No, I forgot about Netflix. Yeah, no. That's just on Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive.
Okay. But before it was a thing where it had to be on a local channel locally.
Yeah.
That's kind of where he's going with
Here's
this.
my other thing. 98% of the population that watches television in their homes is streaming that television, whether it's through a YouTube TV or direct TV
in today's
service.
society.
It's all streaming.
Yeah.
So you don't want an extra app for it? Sorry. Tough luck. You're not paying $45 for the one game like you used to have to with pay-per-view.
And not all these streaming services are like really crazy about sharing passwords. Just get a password from somebody else. Like whatever.
15 years ago, it was $45 to watch a game 3 or 4 times a season.
Yeah.
Or you listen to it on the radio. To me, it's either you treat it like a business or you don't. And we're treating everything else like a business. This is part of it.
Yeah. I agree. Next one is all conferences shall publish an official officiating report within 2 hours of a game ending with explanations for the 3 most controversial calls, and all conferences shall air replay deliberations live during broadcasts like the ACC did for the certain games last season.
I don't mind any of that. I think more stipulations
holding the
for
officials accountable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we need to do more with instant replay from the booth. The call down from New York or whatever it is. I think there needs to be more of that done. Also, use the technology that we have, like the spotting of the football. Stuff like there's no reason not to use that. You've already seen it tested for multiple seasons in the USFL. Use it. It works. Stop with the silliness of this.
It's kind of like the strike zone in baseball.
That's the thing.
Just fucking stop it.
These refs run up to a dog pile and they go, "Yep, this is exactly where the ball was."
Yeah.
Bullshit. You have no fucking idea. Yeah. And then you're going to measure them short by an inch?
Yeah.
Come on.
Or a yard.
Or yard. Yeah, but I mean, like the ones where
Meanwhile,
it's
we just spent the last 10 minutes staring at 4 300-pound asses trying to figure out where the ball is on TV.
Well, you were staring at their
Yeah,
asses.
I mean, it's another point.
now we know what Matt's doing during games. God, I'm just hoping for an instant replay.
Give me another tush push. Why don't you?
All right.
I mean, my big thing is, this is just me because I hate the conversation about referees. I hate blaming referees. It's stupid, all those things. I understand the point of this. I don't really care if there's like a big deal about the 3 most controversial calls. Who are you to say that they were the most controversial calls? Whatever.
I don't really give a fuck about the report afterwards.
Yeah, I don't.
The game's over. You're not going to change the way the game came. I think a big thing could be helped by the fact that we have camera angles from everywhere on most broadcasts now. Let the booth call down and say, no, you got it wrong on the field.
The part of this I agree with is at the end where it says all the conferences shall air replay deliberations live during broadcast, all that stuff. The first part about the reports after the games, I couldn't give a shit about more. The other stuff during the broadcast, fine, do it. Like, I'm all in. Like, because, again, the USFL, UFL, whatever the hell that league is called now, they actually, air the whole deliberations when they do replays.
Yeah. And
I'm
that's
okay
fine.
with that.
That's fine, whatever. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't really care about that stuff. The one other thing I'll throw on here that I think he should have added, unlimited replay or unlimited challenge. No. Unlimited challenge if you don't get it wrong. Like, if you challenge a play and you get it right, that does not count towards your challenges.
Okay, yeah.
Like, you get 2 lost challenges a game, 1 per half. You win 5 challenges. Cool. You're doing a better job than the refs. You should get 5 challenges. That's plain and simple.
I like that you changed it to 1 per half because I would have even said just 1 per game. As long as you win it, you keep it, and it keeps going.
Yeah. Keep it and it keeps going.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me to penalize someone for using a challenge and being successful.
Yep. The last one is, finally, the committee shall not conduct another Tuesday night ranking show for eternity. I actually agree with this because I think it's so stupid. I never watched the show, so whatever.
I've literally never watched one, so this comment might not make a lot of sense. But you want to talk about an after-action report? I want to see a report on the deliberation the committee makes as to why each team is ranked how it's ranked.
But I don't care about that in the end of October. I don't care where teams are ranked in October. I care where they're ranked at the end of November.
Okay, let's get into the rankings.
Right, yeah.
Let's get into the rankings. First of all, from a question about the committee, no. Axe the committee. Period. We used to have a system called the BCS. Those of you that are older than 25 remember this. And many people hated it. But it also served a really, really good purpose, and the metrics that they use in it could even be better now because of the types of analytics and access to data that we have. Bring back the BCS to make those bowl rankings. And the other side of that is no more preseason ranking. No more preseason ranking. No ranking comes out until after the first week of games. Maybe not even until after the second or third week of games, because there are so many teams that just get the benefit of the doubt because, will they play in the SEC? Will they play in the Big Ten?
But what benefit are they getting?
They're getting the benefit that they started the season ranked in the top 5, and it takes them 4 weeks of fucking up to fall out of the top 25. As opposed to a team that starts off really hot, but because they were preseason ranked 90th and nobody believed in them, even though they're a giant upstart and maybe they're going to win 10 or 12 games this year, it takes them 4 weeks to even climb into the top 25, and they never actually reach the top 5 or 10 because, of where they started out. And because maybe they don't play strong enough opponents. But those things, I really think, especially the AP poll, the coaches poll, don't even release one until week 2 or 3.
On the surface, I agree with you. I don't care about because the coaches poll and the AP poll don't mean anything anyway. So fine. You want to do a preseason poll? Don't mean anything. I care about the playoff poll.
You can't tell me they don't mean anything right now because we have human beings on the committee.
But you said bring back the BCS.
No.
That won't be.
I agree with that.
Just saying.
That's fine. If you're bringing back the BCS, cool. You can start those rankings right after the last game ends on week 1. That's cool. But as far as the current setup, stop having a preseason ranking because what you're doing is influencing people, whether or not they believe they're being influenced. They're being influenced
That's
from
fair.
the very outset by where those teams are ranked to start the season, and then they've got that in their mind. Wow, that's a top 10 matchup. That right there, Texas and Oklahoma and Ohio State. That's a top 10 matchup. This is one of the games of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Why? No, it's a game of the year because it's Ohio State and Texas.
Yeah.
It's not a game of the year because it's a top 5 matchup. Because guess what? Texas was fucking dog shit for the first 8 games of the season. Sorry, I said what I said. It is what it is.
It's not wrong.
It's an imperfect system, but those are the types of things that could move the game forward for the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do I think that it carries a ton of weight? No, but I get your point, and I'm not saying that it's a 0 as far as how it influences. If it influences anything at all, then it should go away. I completely agree with you on that. Yeah.
Also, I just think it's funny that they tried to make Tuesday night interesting. So we don't need that shit ever anymore.
It's just a programming thing.
Yeah, it's just ESPN making more money.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's ESPN being bad at their jobs now and trying to fill it with stuff that entices people.
Yeah. Well, and I always think it's funny, like when they try to bring that show out at the beginning of basketball season, and they'll always put that. They'll always have like 2 basketball games on that Tuesday night, and they'll put that show and promote the hell out of that show. It's in between the 2 games because nobody gives a fucking fuck about college basketball, man. It's like, watch these basketball games. And by the way, you might stumble into our college football playoff conversation because that's what you actually care about.
Yeah.
But outside of those 10 commandments, anything jump out of you in your own mind that you might want to
We
add?
need a college football commissioner.
I agree with that.
We need a.
I mean, that's kind of the point of this. It says if you're the czar of college football, he would basically be the
that's
commissioner.
that's where I'm going with this. Right back to the beginning of it. We need a college football
I
commissioner.
agree.
We need a college football commissioner, just like the NFL has. This
We need a players' union.
This is professional football at the amateur level. These people are all being paid. Stop calling it what it's not.
Hell, that interview that Matt Rhule did with Ravi and Damon Benning earlier this week, where he actually said, it was really, I thought it was hilarious when Rhule goes, "This is professional collegiate football."
Yes.
So as soon
Call
as
it
he
what it
said
is.
it, I go, "Holy shit!" That we always want to say it
has been for a couple years now.
Basically, minor league NFL football, but the phrasing of professional collegiate football,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
It is.
Treat it that way.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. We need a commissioner. We need a players union. We need collective bargaining. We need
100%.
contracts.
That's
Like,
It's the NCFL is what it is.
I brought this up. I was talking to Vegas about this when we were talking pre-draft stuff, and I don't remember how we got on the topic, but I was talking about how like we've got these different players that float around and do all this different stuff. Let them form a players union, and there needs to be collective bargaining, because guess what you can do with that? You're then getting what you want, which is schools being able to sign hard and fast contracts, contract rules that get put in place that can limit a player's transferability.
It's almost like we have
Cool.
a model for
There's-
all of this.
Yeah, 100%.
even if it's a 1-year contract, at least the fact that 100% of players are free agents every single year
It's
is
crazy.
not sustainable.
But here's the thing, right there. Like Matt said, it's a 1-year contract. At least you know about that. That's neat. Cool. We don't know that we have a ton of faith in you. We see that you struggled really hard in your first year at Alabama, and they're not going to retain you. Got that. You got cut. You're a free agent to move on. We're going to sign you to a 1-year deal. Cool. Midway through the season, you have the ability to restructure your contract, get you a new one. We're going to up your pay because you're doing a great job, and we're actually helping you see your ceiling. We just sign you to the rest of your 5 years that you have left. Cool. Done deal. Let's let the contracts limit themselves instead of trying to have Trump's executive order stop players from transferring, which will never fucking happen. Let's be real about it and stop letting the NCAA act like they have any power.
Yeah.
Because the second that gets done, okay, cool, we're gonna challenge it. No, it's lost in court, and fuck, it's another rule that we wasted six fucking months talking about that's just out the window in one court case.
There you go. Maybe dissolve the NCAA.
Well, you bring on a commissioner and then you bring on bargaining power with the players. That's literally the whole thing would solve itself if you just let the players organize, or even encourage it. Encourage it. We need to get this done, and then you have a commissioner, and then you have and ideally you've gone to the 2-conference system by this point, but then you have the collective of the schools that have representatives, athletic directors, who are together. That gets negotiated between the collective of the schools and the players union. It's very, very simple. It's the exact same model the NFL is using. It would solve so many of these transfer issues. Oh, you're a kid who's literally sitting in class at Clemson. You've already signed your NIL deal. You're enrolled for the semester, and Ole Miss calls you up and offers you a shit ton of money, and you're just going to ditch on class halfway through a fucking class and bounce because you got an extra $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, bro. You can't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, it happened literally this week when the Brennan Saurusbee stuff came out, and everybody's like, oh, well, Dylan Raiola is going to leave Oregon and now go to Texas Tech. Well, you can't because there's not a second transfer portal window anymore.
Until after the season. And there was all kinds of spoof accounts coming out with articles about that.
And people believed it.
People that I know that know football really well believed it. And I was like, that literally cannot happen.
There's no longer 2 windows. So, no, if there were 2 windows, would it probably happen?
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Would have already been done.
With everything you guys are saying, we're like a hop, skip, and a jump away from a high school football draft.
Kind of.
That might be kind of fun.
Now, okay, so back to one of the middle ones, to bring it back to Nebraska football, because that's what we're typically here for. The whole 5 to play 5, as far as 5 years to play 5 seasons. Obviously, it will change for everybody, but just specifically for Nebraska, how much do you think that will change for Nebraska? And we'll just go with, and I know we haven't seen him play at Nebraska yet, but Anthony Cavalleri. If that does get signed, it will allow him to be able to have another year possibly here at Nebraska. How big is that for us? And it's not just Cavalleri. We could name off a handful of other players that it will affect for Nebraska. But
I'm not necessarily interested in a second year of Cavalleri, depending on what we have coming in behind him.
But he'll be a freshman, so who knows? But
yeah, maybe so. Speaking of, Trey Taylor did just win the QB MVP of the Rivals camp. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty fucking big deal. The guy's on his way to getting his 5th star.
Great.
No doubt. But anyway, when I look at it, I think of guys like Cam Lenhart. If he's now actually playing the position he should have been playing all along, and he's going to actually get back to that potential that he was showing in his first season, give him one more year, because as it sits, he's a senior right now, and he can't play after this year.
Getting rid of all of the red shirt rules, I think, is not a bad thing, regardless of when it happens.
Here's the other side of that. For us, for Nebraska, right now, the way Rhule traditionally wants to build a program where he's been successful.
Again, not just Cavalleri, like an Andrew Marshall, Cam Lenhart.
Stuff like that. Andrew Marshall is going to be a top 2 round draft pick. I agree,
but he has the option. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So those things, that's how you get old. And if we have the ability to keep some of those guys that were first-year Rhule guys here for one more year, that's only going to help us get old and then stay old because we've been recruiting behind them.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at that.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with any of that. I think the red shirt rules, to me, just as my own personal opinion, have never made sense.
Yeah.
Some guys can kind of skirt around them and this, that, the other, and they practically play 5 years anyway. So just get done with it. Move past it. It doesn't make any sense.
When they were trying to fight against the idea of just going for a strict 5 for 5 by trying to say, well, maybe what if we did a redshirt year where they could play in 9 games?
What the fuck
are you doing?
Yeah. Okay, so skip your 3 powder puff games. You get to play all the important games.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Fucking great.
It's so dumb. But yeah, no, I agree. But I just like the potential of that 5 for 5. I think it'll change the sport. It'll change all the sports, like basketball, softball, baseball, whatever. Any of the sports. It will change the landscape of college sports, and I think the best ways possible of changing that 5 for 5 rule. And I really look forward to it.
And I think it's by sport.
Yeah.
If you go and you use your first 2 years playing baseball, and you're like, wow, this isn't for me. You get 5 years playing football now if you want.
Whatever.
I don't care.
I don't know that that's how that will work, but
I don't know if it's how it would work. I'm saying it's how it should work. If I'm the czar of football, that's what I want.
Well, I mean, hell, even in that scenario, you go play we got that one recruit that is the basketball player and the tight end. I forget his name because I'm not a big recruiting guy, but that 5-star kid that's looking at us in LSU.
Oh yeah.
He plays one sport for 2 years. at least in that aspect, even if it doesn't transfer, then he has 3 years for the other sport, not just 2 years for the other sport.
Right.
So, either way, it's a good situation for everybody.
Yeah. There's no losing in there.
No
losing in there.
And there's no weird transition period. This is now happening, and all players that are currently playing, you will be adjudicated based on how many full years you've played.
Yeah. I like that it's not being retroactive, because that was kind of the conversation for somebody like in basketball, Jamarcus Lawrence for Nebraska basketball, who could possibly benefit from this 5 for 5. They said it's not retroactive, so he's done. And I'm glad that they did that, not necessarily for the basketball, because then you would have to go back to football and you'd have to go back to volleyball of
Anybody who played last year.
The only thing that gets weird is the people who have redshirted. What do you do with them?
Yeah.
They only played their 4 games that one season. Do they get a 5th year still? That's something that have to be worked out. Personally, I think, give it to them. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
We went through all the COVID stuff. We saw players play 7 years in a row. Yeah. So we can make it through that transition too.
Nick Saban for commissioner.
No, fuck off.
No.
Why?
Jesus.
Too old.
Oh my God.
Too old school.
He
I
left
disagree.
because he hated the landscape of college sports. I don't want somebody like that. I want somebody that will embrace the landscape of college sports now.
Not to mention the mixture of him and Pat McAfee I need on Saturday mornings for the rest of eternity.
All right. Jesus
All right.
Christ.
Shift gears. Pat McAfee for
No.
commissioner.
Also no.
Hard
Dude's
pass.
an idiot. No way.
I love it. We appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, share, follow. If you haven't, we'll see you later.
Joe Rogan for him.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.